Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 184. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me here as always, except when he's not, is BT Calloway.
Oh, hoi hoi.
And joining us all the way from Melbourne in Victoria, Australia, he is one of the hosts of the Grub podcast and also the host of the brand new podcast, Big Aussie Revolution. It's Greg Larsen.
Hello, thank you for having me on the show.
And thank you for joining us on the Simpsons Index. And for those of you who haven't heard before, this is the podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but there is a twist. Each episode comes from a different decade. Now, Greg, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
No worries. I love this idea. I think it's cool. And I have really strong feelings about The Simpsons. I mean, everybody loves The Simpsons, but it's my... the classic era is my favorite, but I haven't watched it in a long time. I haven't watched all the later stuff, so this is a kind of...
It's a difficult love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good stuff to be mined out of the new seasons, but not a lot. But, we make it our endeavor to try and find that.
The listener.
But Greg, let's get back to the classic years. Do you have a personal Simpsons history? Where did the show begin with you?
Well, actually, I remember when I was in primary school, and I can't remember exactly what year, but everyone was talking about this new show that was coming out called The Simpsons. Mm-hmm. And I also remember there was another show that everyone was talking about that was coming out that all us kids were really excited about, called Dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
The puppet show. And I remember having an argument with a kid where I was legitimately saying, nah, man, Dinosaurs is a much better show than The Simpsons. Like, it's so much better. It is going to be the new hit show. And I was convinced it was Dinosaurs.
You can keep your cowabungas. I'll stick with the not the mamas. Thank you very much.
I could just imagine that, though, in the year 2020, we're looking at the 32nd season of Dinosaurs.
Yeah. Oh, good. But yeah, I remember what it was like when, being in primary school. I don't know how old you guys are, like, if you remembered when it first came out or...
Yeah, about there. I think I'm around the same age as you, 30.
Yeah. 30-something.
Redacted,
Yeah. 30.
Not 40.
No.
Younger than 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was everything. Everyone was talking about it all the time. It was big discussions at school the next day. And I always remember there was one episode in particular that I remember missing because I got in trouble and Mum said I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons that night. I can't even remember what I did.
Did you put mothballs in the meatball stew?
Oh, no, it was not anything interesting. But yeah, Mum, so I didn't get to watch The Simpsons, and then it was the casino episode.
Nice.
And I remember everyone talking about it at school, and I had to wait like a year for it to come on the repeat. So for years, this was this mythical episode that sounded better than any episode I'd ever seen, but I couldn't see it. And it still to this day is my favorite episode, I think.
Oh, dude, to me, that episode for me was You Only Move Twice, the Hank Scorpio episode. I had to go see my stupid cousin being born and had to miss out on taping The Simpsons that night.
Cousin's going to have heaps of birthdays. Come on.
Yeah.
So what? I missed the first one.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Won't even remember.
It's not even first zero. Anyway, so that to see that years later as well, I could imagine, But anyway, on the flip side of that, we asked, where did you drop off? Was there a point where you're like, nah, that's it? Or was it a gradual fade? Where did you land on that?
It was definitely a gradual fade. There was definitely a moment where I had to tell myself, I actually don't like The Simpsons anymore. Like, there was a realization. And I had a similar moment with, I don't know how big of music fans you guys are, but like with the Smashing Pumpkins and Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
Where there was a moment where I went, hang on a second. Yeah, I was like, hang on a second, I actually don't like any of this, and it's been a while since I've actually liked it. And it's similarly to the Hobbit movies. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I remember watching the first movie and just going, nah, I'm loving it. I enjoy it. I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm definitely having a good time. And the second movie, I was just like, oh, I don't know. And then by the time the third movie came out, I was like, I actually don't like this. So this is a roundabout way of saying with The Simpsons, I don't know when. Sometime around season 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah.
Sometime around then, I started missing episodes and going, I actually don't know if I like this show anymore.
Yeah.
They did that big crossover and brought Smaug in.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything from the HD era before tonight?
Oh, bits and pieces. And I think I watched 1 or 2 random episodes recently when I got Disney Plus and was rewatching all the old stuff. And I remember skipping ahead and going, let's just watch a random episode. And
yeah, see how that works out.
Yeah. And I remember having an argument with a friend of mine a few years ago who was claiming that The Simpsons was just as good today as it always has been. And it's just because we've all moved on and changed that we don't think it's as good. And then he made me watch a couple of episodes and I was like, nah, I can't get behind that.
No, if anything, I set out when I started this podcast about 4.5 years ago to prove that, yes, there is still some good new Simpsons, but as far as studying it for the last that time, I can definitely state that is not true. They are not firing on the same cylinders.
Yeah, we've got to be broaching the 10,000 hour mark required to become an expert on this. And,
so you can trust us.
Yeah.
Fuck, that is so funny about the Smashing Pumpkins thing, man, though, because I had a similar about the same band was when I went to see them at I think it was a big day out, and they were playing like a shitty small stage while Slipknot had the main stage, and I was like, oh, that sucks a bit, but yeah, go see the Pumpkins, and I'm like, fuck, I think I want to go back and watch Slipknot.
Yeah, they really, like, and that makes you wonder too. I mean, it's the same with the whole Star Wars thing. Like, I wonder how good, Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins ever was. Maybe he just kind of had a few good albums in him, or maybe someone else was editing it, or like telling him no. Same with like Star Wars, the original trilogy, great, but then no one told George Lucas no, and then he made a lot of crap.
No, that's right. But, we'll always have The Empire Strikes Back and Melancholy and The Infinite Sadness.
Yeah, that's true.
I heard if you play Melancholy while watching Empire, it ruins both.
That's true. I can confirm. It's...
All right. Well, yeah, we've been talking around it enough, and it's because I do not have a lot to say about the episode we're about to review, but let's get into it. We just watched an episode from the HD era. This was Season 28, Episode 8, Dad Behavior. First released in November of 2016, directed by Stephen Dean Moore, written by Ryan Coe. In this episode, Homer discovers an Airtasker style app called Chore Monkey and starts outsourcing all of his stuff, including his relationship with Bart. And then he becomes jealous of the footballer that's developed a relationship with Bart. And in the B story, Grandpa thinks he's gotten a girl pregnant. Hey, what do we think?
Oh.
Well, Elliot, do you ever think about just giving up?
Jesus.
No.
Does the B in BT stand for bleak?
Maybe, I don't know. I've never looked at my own birth certificate. Yeah, look, this is just white paint. There's nothing to it. I have a full page of notes and yet nothing to say.
Mm-hmm. Greg?
Yeah, I mean, this was sort of, I wrote a few things down, and because I hadn't seen any of the really new episodes in a long time, things struck me. Was like, I totally forgot there was a new intro. Of course there was, but I literally haven't seen it in that long. I was like, oh, that's right, the intro's all new. And just like, the intro just so clearly demonstrates how bad the show's gotten, where it's just like, it's gags on gags, but they're not built on top of each other. They're just put on top of each other, if that makes sense. It's just like chuck as many gags in as you can, but they're not necessarily related.
Yeah, they're not cohesive or... Yeah,
it's not cohesive. One doesn't lead on to another. And also just, there was something right off the bat, right, but this is purely subjective, but seeing Homer pull out an iPhone, it just seems wrong. Like, it just doesn't gel with me. It's like how... it breaks the sort of immersion that I have where it's like... It really does make me go, how old are these guys by now? He's the same age. It's moments like that sort of make it seem weird. But yeah, the B story, that Grandpa Simpson having a baby.
Yeah.
That legitimately, if that had been done in classic era, could have been a great A story if it was played serious.
Yeah.
Without like putting a hat on a hat and making it too jokey, where the baby is like a little version of Jasper.
Yeah, that's how you find out, who is the father. Maury Povich pulls out the ultrasound and it's like, well, he looks exactly like him.
He's got a beard in the womb. Like, It's just craziness on craziness.
Yeah.
It had a baby beard. Like and subscribe.
Shout out to our friends down in Adelaide, Baby Beard Media. Well, let's hook into the questionnaire. BT, what's a moment from this episode that stands out to you for better or worse?
You know, I got 3, and I'm just picking between them. We kind of just briefly covered them all. I'm going to go back to that couch gag real quick, because it's this long extended thing where every member of the house except for Bart dies. And this isn't a Halloween episode either. This is just Homer swallows that nuclear rod and dies. And Bart gets his, it starts off with Bart getting his skateboard snapped when he lands on Barney. And you're like, okay, they're doing something different. I thought that was going to be the lead in the episode. He was then going to have to walk home, and that would be a thing about getting a new skateboard or something. Okay, fine. Lisa gets KO'd by the door. Technically, maybe she's not dead. Maybe she has massive head trauma.
There's not a lot of dispute about the next two, though.
No, well, I mean, it starts off kind of charming because Maggie's driving and Marge, I guess, wakes up in the back of the car somehow. But they drive through like a chicken farm, and then there's a chicken, and Maggie gives it a pacifier. You're like, okay, chickens are funny. And then they drive into a lake, and Marge's body floats to the surface, and Maggie doesn't. And you're like, this is bleak enough to watch Marge just floating there. The knowledge that Maggie hasn't surfaced is unsettling. And then to cap it all off, so we get home and then Bart starts watching TV. But what they then do is have a transitional scene where, you do the classic shot of the da-da-da-da TV screen, which is then sliding off. And that leads directly into the episode of Homer having to, because he hasn't built the TV stand, just pushing the TV on the box up and down. It's like, whoa, wait. These scenes are now linked. You did this very intentionally. And I just saw everyone die, and now instead of Bart sitting on the couch, Homer is. Like, one or the other. Have your incredibly bleak, morbid intro sequence. I don't like it, but fine. Or have your lead in with the sliding TV. Don't have both, because it doesn't work, and it makes me now believe that was real, what I just watched, of all the Simpsons characters dying outside of Halloween.
I had to get you a towel and a warm cup of cocoa after that one.
I wish.
I mean, you're bang on too, because that's... cutting into the episode with the TV sliding down after we've just come out of the TV, that's actually kind of clever if it was used on its own and that was the only strange thing that happened.
Yeah.
But to have that happen on the back of this already, it's just a hat on a hat. It's just the silliness already.
Oh, it is hats all the way down.
Yeah, it's nothing but hats. But Marge floating in the water, I mean, you can tell that's a decision because they've gone... Like, what's more sinister, a baby never emerging or a baby floating in the water, Like,
yeah, they had that discussion.
Yeah, like if at least if it doesn't emerge, maybe you can think that Maggie fell out just before the moment of impact.
I mean, I want to believe that, but that's not where I go.
But it's wild that they even went for this. And yeah, you're right. Outside of a treehouse of horror setting, I don't know why.
And why? What were they? Oh, guys, we need to punch up the intro. Okay, how about everyone dies? Jenkins, you're a genius.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the problem with these intros where, it used to be they'd, replace the chalkboard and couch gags.
Yeah.
Maybe occasionally something on the in-between, but fucking very rarely. And it's all the intro is just a stack of gags where you got the Ralph gag, you got a billboard, a chalk, and everything, Yeah,
and just, again, I'm just going to come back to why. This has nothing to do with the episode, and it's not a Halloween episode. You're just doing it.
Yeah. How about you, Greg? What's a moment from this episode that stands out to you for better or worse?
It was the moment when, and I mean it stands out weirdly because it was the moment when Homer goes to see his dad in the old folks' home, and it was at that moment where his dad starts going, "Oh, I'm having a baby."
Yeah.
And I checked the time, like I checked how long into the episode it was, and it was 9 minutes in or 10 minutes in of a 22-minute episode.
Yeah, so
and I'm like, we're 10 minutes in. 10 minutes in, and I don't know what the main storyline is yet.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Is this the plot? What? I thought it was going to be, and they were going to pull away from it being a gag, and he was just confused or something. But no, this is now the B plot.
Yeah, and it's like, it's such a clear demonstration of good writing versus bad writing when you have, old episodes, classic era episodes. The story is informed by the things that happened previously. So something happens, and then because of that thing happening, this new thing happens, and then that's the story. Whereas this is not really because of, it's just and also.
Yeah.
And that's just bad writing. It's just like, this happens, and also this happens, and also, and at 10 minutes in, I did laugh purely because I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, he's just, oh, son, I'm having a baby. I'm like, what? Okay, what's the episode about? is this the episode? We're nearly done. What's the storyline here?
No, absolutely.
So that was the moment.
And, when they're trying to shoehorn in, like, the 3 generations are now getting on at the end, it's like, was there a way for this baby story to intersect with this other story? Or, like, because that's what it felt like they were going for. Homer, like, reaching out to his dad. It's like, I've been neglecting you. What advice have you got? And then it just pivots. Hard left turn.
Yeah, because Abe does go from trying to run out to deciding to go see this woman that at the time he thinks is having his baby, but without any moment of revelation. And that could have related to Homer of being like, son, you may not have never wanted to have been a father, but you're in it now. And you've made this commitment. And you've created life, and it's the most wonderful thing in the world. And you've got to stick it through or something. But they don't. Just fuck it. That requires effort.
But everything about this episode to me is like what I always tell people is like bad writing in comedy, which is, if you're going to have a story, the story has to be interesting when you take out all the jokes.
Yeah.
Like, take out all the jokes, take out all the funny parts of it. Do I still want to know how the story ends?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then what the fuck is the story? Why don't you just make it a sketch show? Like, it doesn't have to be... It can just be random... It can just be Family Guy or whatever.
No, I mean, that's kind of what The Simpsons is these days. It's, a loosely held together sketch show.
Yeah, and that's no good. Like, if you're having... sort of storylines, they have to be good. If they're not good, then just have it as gags. Just have a 15-minute episode of just gags and funny things happening.
But no story. That's the thing. The gags weren't particularly strong in this episode either. And
they weren't particularly strong. I will give it some points for having a degree of sincerity. I feel like lacks sometimes in The Simpsons, where even though I wasn't loving the jokes, the delivery was at least, I guess, intentional, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like the cast just like, oh, and then I waka waka. And like, it actually felt a bit more organic for the most part. I'm like, so even up until the point where I gave up, which was, where was that? Probably the long rambling Monopoly bit.
Oh yeah.
I was still like, okay, I'm not. This isn't great, but what have you got?
Yeah.
The only thing that I found funny was I like, even after everything, I still think Milhouse's dad is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I think he's, as a character, but maybe it's just because I haven't seen him that much and I haven't watched The Simpsons. I don't know if this is overplayed or not, but I found Milhouse's dad kind of funny.
He is, but like, he's not as overplayed as Gil, and I think the trap that they fall into sometimes is that Kirk and Gil are essentially the same character.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about Gil.
Yeah.
Gil to me was like almost a signal of the show going downhill. It seemed like a kind of desperate character.
Yeah.
I don't know when Gil came in exactly.
Season 8, I want to say. Season 8 or 9, yeah. It was definitely passing the baton from like the Phil Hartman characters to just Gil.
Well, the turning point for me for Gil was, at first he was like the optimistic loser, even though he would always, end up short. He was always, one more try, that kind of deal. Whereas lately he's just gotten depressed and suicidal and boring, and it's lame. We already have those characters. It's pointless. But yeah, that whole Kirk bit. First of all, Kirk is an asshole in this thing, and also why is this scene here? And then Luann is even a bigger asshole. So
yeah, that's the thing. That was going to be what stood out to me, is this whole Kirk staging the wall coming down on him for America's Funniest Home Video, which, I mean, if you're going to spend this, like, it was like a good minute and a half or something, you're going to spend this time on Milhouse and Kirk, who do come into the story later. They're not setting up any part of the story or any part of the conflict or showing the strain in their relationship. It's just this weird fucking sketch for Kirk to, basically say for a long time that he's about to get hurt, and then he does.
And then Luann backs over him, and it's like, wow.
Near intentionally.
I mean, quite. He's on a step ladder. You don't miss that.
Yeah. She's going with the, it's okay, I'm a teacher defense of just,
She's not a teacher.
So, play count. Have you ever seen this episode before, Greg?
No, never. Never seen this episode
BT?
before.
I had a chore monkey watch it once. I shouldn't have done that. I feel bad.
This isn't actually the real BT, by the way. This is a very qualified person. Like,
my name is Doug.
This is a very a common thing of New Simpsons is to have these things that are in culture now and just sort of do them, but not have an interesting take. Or Greg, what did you think about the whole Airtasker chore monkey thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a perfect example of. And this happens a lot in bad shows and with bad writing, is just people going, Uber, that's a thing now. Let's have something in there that's like Uber. But they haven't really thought about why, and they don't really know exactly what it is. You know, and there's a difference between a show that really understands what it's talking about or making fun of and one that doesn't. And this is one that doesn't. It's just like, the gig economy, people are doing things like Airtasker and Uber and stuff, so I guess have a thing about that. But, I mean, that in and of itself should have been the main story if they were going to do that. You know, it doesn't even, like, it's sort of glossed over. Like, Homer's like, oh, yeah, they cut me off. You know, apparently you got to pay with your credit card. And it's like, that's the whole thing. Like, shouldn't the story revolve around that and him getting addicted to this, or, you know, it just kind of just goes away. Like, it's just...
Or him just getting so lazy he doesn't do anything himself. But then, my main problem, because this is the main focus of the entire episode, is first that Homer is basically, what's the word I want here? Outsourcing time with Bart.
Yeah.
Except we're never shown him doing that, in the sense that Bart just runs up and says, hey, can I play catch with that guy you hired to play catch with me? And it's like, oh, so surely he should have asked Homer first, and then Homer outsources it. But then later on when he's like, oh, they cut me off because I didn't pay, then that guy should have left.
Yeah.
Why is he still playing with Bart? It's not Bart who's paying him.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about timing of the episode and when certain story beats happen, Homer realizing the folly of his ways and seeing Bart bond with someone else happens within the first act, and then it kind of feels like we're just stretching and treading water for the rest of it.
Because it happened in, season 5 with the Big Brother program?
That's exactly the first thing I thought too, was we've already seen basically this. It was handled so much better, and the Big Brother episode was fantastic. It was one of the all-time great episodes, and we've seen that, and it's...
No, absolutely. But, you know, I will say I reckon there is an interesting dynamic with Homer bonding with Milhouse Bart with Kirk to get revenge, and I think there's something very interesting you could do with that character mashup, but... Yeah, to do this half-past imitation.
Sorry, it just clicked in my head again that Bart eventually finds out this guy's got a list of things like let Bart win at Monopoly and always tell him he's great, but that doesn't mean anything. It should be then he goes to, at least Homer is, you know, while he's got his faults, is genuine. And then there's a moment to be said about that. It's better to have the real thing than this, you know, nice fake, I suppose.
Or where's mischievous little Bart using this information against Homer now?
I don't know.
Could have been so much better. But
I'm slowly getting angry, so that's nice. I'm beginning to feel something. I have a reason to live!
No, watching this episode was like taking children's Xanax. Hey, I can make a reference to the episode. We like to talk about the cartoony elements, though. Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons? How'd they use the animation space?
I mean, it was wacky, but I mean, it's hard to watch for me to watch these new episodes because I haven't seen so many of them. But compared to old episodes, it's wacky as hell. I like the little Jasper thing, and Homer getting that actually really annoyed me. I was just thinking about Homer getting stuck in the the IKEA cabinet thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
but he was stuck in a way that, I mean, if you're gonna do that, make it visually interesting. Visually, it looked like he could get out, and this is an animation. Like you're not constrained by anything.
Yeah,
it looked like he could actually get out of there. So
and I think there was a good pullback and reveal to do there that they didn't, and
no, and then even that's just an opening to start this whole chore monkey thing. He just calls up Barney and says, "Oh, come help me." He's like, "Why don't you use this hot new app we're all talking about?" Surely, if he was like weirdly stuck in an oddly designed piece of Swedish furniture, he could have been, "Barney, I'm stuck." "Oh, in what?" "IKEA furniture." "Oh, it's not the Plublé, is it?" "Yeah, it is." "Oh, you need bit more help than I can provide. Why don't you use this app?" There. Slightly better, and at least it's funnier because he'll be in a weird contraption.
And
you could have a pull out where Barney is himself trapped in one, and he's like, I'm not your guy here, you know?
Yeah, that's funny.
Spent my last $10 on getting you burp or whatever the hell he got.
Yeah.
But it was actually surprisingly devoid of wacky animation moments in this one.
There are bits. I do like when Snowball 2 is just kind of gnawing on him. He's like, "Stop eating me, I'm not dead yet." I didn't love the Allen key bit where he sucks the Allen key up and spits out the wrong one, but I did like the callback when he coughs up a bunch later.
Yeah.
Mostly because they didn't stop and go, "More Allen keys." What? They just let it happen.
Yeah, that's what I hated about the first one. That's not the one that I swallowed. We know it wasn't.
Yeah, we already saw that.
Yeah.
It was a different one.
What does that say about comedy writing? You know, show and tell, but you got to do both.
Yeah.
And the biggest bit of whack, to be entirely fair, we can mark this down as, an unreliable narrator when Abe thinks back to his own father, who's all in like Popeye style Fleischer animation, and it gets thrown into the sun. I'm like, yeah, no, that seems like a grandpa story. Sort of. Like, the idea is there. It didn't quite land, but, you know.
Yeah, and it's another one of these HD Simpsons things where they go for these moments and it looks nice enough, but yeah, I just didn't think much of the material around it.
Yeah, and it's so weird too because, and I mean, maybe I shouldn't be overthinking it like this, but it used to make sense that Grandpa talked about his days in the war and all this.
Yeah.
But now if he's this old, like, then when he was a kid, it was what, the 50s? You know, it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, what's this like pre-war 1920s animation thing?
Yeah.
It doesn't fit.
No, that's the odd thing with the Simpsons timeline and the problems of them existing for this long is, now they have iPhones, but they also grew up in the 80s, but also Homer started grunge movement, so...
Yeah, well, still operating on the idea that Springfield exists in a time bubble.
That must.
And things outside of it can change, but within it, it does not.
How about the heart of this episode? Did you feel the emotions in this episode? You know, classic Simpsons could bring the laughs and the bumps. So what do you reckon, Greg? Was this an emotional episode?
Not in the slightest. Like, it had the absolute potential to be. Like, almost all the sort of little story threads that were in there had the potential to be something. And back in the day, they could have been, but absolutely not. Like, it was just pure, just for gags. And there was nothing sort of in there interesting.
No, I mean, I'm even trying to think to the, climax of the episode where they go back to Itchy and Scratchy Land again to remind us of an old episode, I guess.
Yeah, well, that was SeaWorld, but still.
But...
I mean, Itchy and Scratchy Land anyway. Yeah, true. It's 2 old episodes. Fuck.
Yeah, they're just sort of randomly grabbing and smashing these old ideas together. But yeah, I don't even remember anything out of the climax of the Bart, Homer, Kirk, Milhouse story. They're chasing each other and dodging cars and shit, and that's how they
And then
reunite.
Bart crashes, and Homer's like, oh no, my son.
Yeah.
Is that what happened? Is that everything?
Again, I'm just trying to remember what the story was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it speaks to how bad the story was that we watched it 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, and it's already fading from memory. But I mean, there was that very last sting. The credits start and they stop, and we can watch all 3 generations of Simpsons men watching television. And you were like, oh, nothing really happened. I'm like, yeah, that was supposed to be like a heart moment for the feelings we didn't have.
Yeah.
Because they didn't put them in there.
No, it's so odd. And... like, I got a little bit of it when Homer was bonding with Milhouse, but I don't think that story was strong at all. It's just like he's doing stuff with him. There wasn't...
well, even when Homer's saying, oh, I just want a son that respects me and doesn't call me Homer or fat ass. It's like, okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, and they go fishing and... rip the hook out and throw it back because we're humane. And it's like, is all this story is to have a commentary on fishing?
I don't know.
And also, again, another perfect example of... like, you've got a gag there. You don't need to say anything. Like, a good joke. I mean, even then, it's not that good a joke. But if there was just nice, relaxing guitar music playing as a bit of a montage, and he just rips the hook out, and you see the dead fish go into the water, that would have contrasted with the nice moment. And you don't need to then explain the joke. You don't need to have dialogue going, "We're humane. That's why we take the hook out."
Yeah. No, it's very heavy-handed, and I just don't know what to take from the emotions of the grandpa story. It's
nothing. Yeah, well, you take nothing.
Well, it feels like first he has the same conversation twice, once with Homer and then once with Marge, and then so the reveal doesn't really mean anything, and it just brings up a lot of questions about what's happening in this old folks' home.
Fucking.
Oh, okay. Your question's answered. But ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters we all know and love? How's the integrity of the show?
Well, yeah, from my... again, I mean, it's so jarring to have recently watched all the old stuff and haven't seen the new stuff, but it didn't feel like it at all. Oh, where was Lisa in it?
She probably had a few contractual lines, yeah.
Yeah.
Like... the characters sort of... I mean, I don't know who Bart is now, and Homer, like... they just felt like a vessel for whatever gags or whatever sort of contrived storyline they wanted to do. It didn't really feel like a character.
Yeah, and Marge seemed only to be there for the whole patronizing hostage negotiator story.
Which also, had that sort of coda with Maggie where he was talking. But like that looked like it could have or should have been a sort of little C story where we just cut back to this negotiator. But we'd already forgotten about the negotiator by the time it got to the coda.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that funny to just finish the whole episode on it. It should have been like just cut back to it.
I kind of think negotiating, if it had been sewn throughout, that would have been a lot better. I think Negotiator might have been the highlight for me because it was, I don't know who that voice actor is, but he was fun.
Yeah, he was cool.
And just, I do like the bit at the end, which is like, I've got your nose. If you ever want to see it again, you'll give me the pacifier.
Yeah. That's
not a bad bit. But yeah, I agree. Stitch it throughout and make it a thing instead of just, we got to fill some time.
Yeah, because, then it gives this episode, essentially 2 coders. 3 if you count the whole weird Wiggum and Lou being snippy to each other.
About the Lou and Lou corner.
No, and Greg, I don't know if you've seen this much, but this is a thing that we see all the time where Wiggum and Lou they're a sketch in this show as well. They're just cut to have like a snippy little relationship style back and forth.
Yeah.
And like, when you know it's Hank Azaria playing against himself, it's just even weirder to think of that actor just sitting in the studio having a stupid little argument with himself.
Props to the vocal talent, I guess. But I mean, I almost liked it. That's the thing is like, he's, Chief, I don't think those cars are street legal. And then it should have left on Wiggum being like a sentimental moment of, Lou, you'll never understand the love between a man and his son. And it's like, that would have been fine. But then it's like, I've got a son, Chief. He lives in Paraguay or something like what are we doing? Let's just stop.
But yes or no, would you watch it again, BT?
No.
How about you, Greg?
Nah.
Like initially I wanted to say I would put it on for like laundry.
Yeah.
But no, there's not enough to enjoy here for me to... There's not enough for me to enjoy here to watch while folding laundry.
Bleak. All right, this is the fun part of the review. Greg, what would you like to change about this episode? How would you improve it to make it better?
Okay, if I actually had to genuinely change it without just saying just chuck the whole thing in the bin and start again, I would say just take almost everything out of it, make an actual story about grandpa fathering a child, which is sort of crazy already, but if you play it serious, like you can get a lot of jokes out of it and have an actual sincere moment, and like how the fuck would grandpa deal with that, and Homer and Marge.
Homer responding to the idea of watching his father potentially going to become a father again. That's a weird sentence, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like Homer would have a half brother. This is a crazy but not totally unrealistic scenario. You could get a lot of laughs out of it, but a lot of sincerity as well, and that could legitimately make an interesting storyline with heaps of opportunities for funny gags. And I would say make that the story and focus on that.
No, absolutely. And the idea of Homer like getting excited about a baby brother while he has a baby of his own. Yeah. It leads to things. How about you, BT? What would you like to change?
I'm going to say there's an episode already here. They just need to stitch the parts together because there's so many ideas about, fathers and sons. They're just not in any way connected. Get to the point way faster for starters. Like the whole app thing, sure, but have Homer actually push Bart away so he can spend more time doing nothing or whatever. Because the fact that Bart just walks up and says, can I play with that guy you pay to throw the ball to me? It's like, well, this has already happened and he's already accepted it. That's fine. No one cares. You could almost keep that B story of Grandpa getting a woman pregnant because, again, that's another father-son thing and they don't tie that to anything. It's like, why? And then Milhouse as well. It's like, was the point he doesn't like Kirk because Kirk is a pushy weirdo? I didn't even understand why this scene was happening. You could remove that Kirk thing entirely and it would not change anything in this episode. So make it matter. Make any of this matter.
Yeah. Well, my big thing is I think you can salvage the whole Milhouse and Homer are hanging out because Homer likes the respect Milhouse gives him. And to spite him, but starts hanging out with Kirk and like is not having a fun time at all and is like forcing it and stuff. Come on, Kirk. Come on, give me something,
Or maybe Bart only uses this app to get like a father figure after Homer rejects him or something. It's just,
It's nothing. And again, to your point, Greg, where was Lisa? She surely has something to say about Homer not being a neglectful father.
She was dead. Remember? Massive head trauma.
Oh, that's right. She played her last saxophone solo and...
The whole thing was just her death dream. Or she's in a coma. I don't know, something.
All right.
That would make sense. It felt like a fever dream. Like that actually makes it make sense.
This is a collective dream of, 4 unconscious Simpsons.
It's like, well, I was unconscious and I dreamed my brother's friend was building a wall with his dad, except the wall was meant to fall down. I don't really get it. And then he fell off a ladder and got run over by a car. It was weird.
And anyway, also Grandpa got a woman pregnant. Yeah, this is describing the plot of this episode is describing a dream.
Yeah, it really is.
All right. Guest stars of this episode, we had Matt Lionard. Greg, big American football fan, I bet.
Oh, you love that gridiron. Give me that pigskin. Let me chuck it down the field for a 50-pointer. I have no idea who that guy was. Absolutely
no,
none.
neither do I. I didn't mind the gag of him, like, keep on shoehorning in the whole fucking trophy, whatever he won, the Heisman trophy. But, yeah, again, it felt like stunt casting. This guy
what was his name again? I just wanted to double check something.
Matt Leinart.
I did get a little chuckle out of the joke where he gave Bart the jersey and he goes, "Whose jersey is this?" And he goes, "OJ's." And he goes, "Go on, Juice, go long," and it was just a nice little.
Yeah,
that was all right.
There was a bit where he is passing the ball with Bart and he kind of stabs it with something and deflates a little bit. So I wonder if he was a part of the whole Deflategate scandal. And yes, he was.
Oh, there we go.
So that's what that was.
What's Deflategate? Is that
there was something with some team that they were deflating the balls before the game so they would be easier to throw or something like that, or harder for the other team to throw. I don't know. I don't a football guy. But I know the term at least. So that was what I gathered from that. And if you knew that, I'm sure this episode was 1% more enjoyable.
It was our version of cricket's, was it Sandpaper Gate or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, not as good terminology. Didn't rhyme. Deflategate, however.
Yeah, all right, we're here. Greg, do you have any other notes about this episode you want to mention before we rank this thing?
Oh, it was shit. I don't know. I mean, I've just sort of, we've been all over it, but yeah, it just felt random and sort of wacky without being good.
Yeah, well, my only other note about it is that they're like, I wonder what Wendell thinks, and he just sort of shrugs and walks off, and it's like, cool, brought back that classic character for that classic gag.
Actually, no, now that you say it, I didn't mind, and tell me if, I don't know if this is a joke that's been overplayed, but I didn't mind Milhouse's dad thinking it was cool that he was hanging out with Bart.
Yeah,
And when he said to Milhouse, "I won't lie to you, being in the car with Bart was the highlight of my life," like, I did think that was kind of funny. Like, I didn't laugh, but I did sort of go, that's all right.
Yeah, I think it's one of those jokes that, because it comes so late in the episode, you would have laughed if you were having a better time. But at this point, it's like, what's the point of it all?
Yeah.
Oh, look, a mildly amusing bit.
Oh, God, I hope the next episode perks you up, dude.
I know, I'm angry again. I feel alive.
Yeah. Do you have any other notes?
Of course I do. A couple of lines I did like are in here. Let's just go through them real quick. I do like when Grandpa announces he might have got a woman pregnant and Homer's like, "I leave you alone for 6 months and this is what you do?"
Yeah.
That was all right. I did quite like the joke of the football man throwing people into the bar.
Oh, yeah.
Like, again, I would have laughed a lot more if I was already having fun, but the concept of the joke is pretty good.
Yeah, I just wish they didn't end it with Ralph. I thought, you could have done that better.
Yeah, too wacky, I think. Like, already funny and made it too wacky.
Yeah. Jasper has a kid now, so that's canon.
That's canon.
Yep. Grandpa has this bit of like, I can't even raise my left arm, let alone a kid, and then literally like 5 seconds later lifts his left arm. It's like, for fuck's sake. Do you people pay attention to your own scripts?
I do hope someone got fired for that blunder.
Well, like, there's being finicky about scripts, and then there's like, here's a line, and then just don't do it. There's he doesn't need to.
All right, well, if you're out of notes, that must mean it's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. But maybe if the episode was just, you give it participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, the ones which the Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. I'm going to give it a participant. It was not even close to being a bronze, but also I really didn't bring up enough rage and hate in me to fail it outright. But yeah, it exists. BT.
Man, I'm right on participhalia. Because, again,
you're right in that border.
I don't quite have the rage to hate it. And at the same time, there are parts that genuinely do piss me off. But I will let it sit on the pit of failure's edge and think about what it's done. I will not kick it in at this moment. I will say participant. As much as I kind of want to, it just doesn't feel like it's worth the energy.
Just a little participant. All right, Greg, finish it off. What would you like to give it?
See, I don't know. I'm thinking failure because I don't have rage for it. I don't want to kick it down into the pit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we weren't doing this podcast and I had started that episode, I just would have stopped it. Like I wouldn't have. By the end of the episode, I was like, "Oh, I'm glad this is over." I would have stopped it, and I think
we
if
thank you for your sacrifice.
Yeah. But I think if I would have stopped it, that means it didn't hold my attention. That means failure. As far as I'm concerned.
That's fair.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's it. And that's why we've got those clockwork orange chairs installed so we don't get distracted and run off and do other things. All right, that'll be a dull participant averaging out, and it will be, oh my God, the 5th episode from season 28 to get this rank.
Ooh.
It'll join Havana Wild Weekend, where they go to Cuba. The Great Fatsby, where they write a rap song or something.
No, Fatsby.
I want to watch that one.
Great Fatsby, wasn't that the Great Gatsby parody? That's garbage.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a two-parter.
Mr. Burns starts hanging out with a hip-hop producer or whatever who grifts him of all of his money, and then he joins up with a bunch of rappers to write a diss track.
Oh, fuck me, that's right.
I actually really want to watch that. I know it's going to be way worse than I think, but
some of these, the description is amazing.
It's a two-parter as well. That's a 1 hour long episode.
Yeah.
22 for 30, where they do, that ESPN show, but about Bart's basketball career. Moho House, where Mo has a swanky new bar, and that's it. All right. Well, look, let's leave the whatever that was behind and move on to the teens era, where I think we're going to do an episode which a lot of people would consider a classic teens. This one is called Trilogy of Error. Funny, I should stumble on the word error. BT, have you ever seen this episode before?
I feel like I have, because I gasped earlier when you said the name.
Greg, do you know this one just from title alone?
From title alone, I'm sure I do. And I feel like the second I see it, I'm going to go, yeah. But I can't think offhand what episode it is, but I'm sure I've seen it.
Ooh, how enticing for our listeners. All right, we'll be back very soon with watching Trilogy of Error. We will be back. Everyone's recording.
Yep.
We're recording.
Everything's all good on my end.
I never stop.
This guy's wearing a wire. And we are back, and we just watched our Teens Era episode. This was Season 12, Episode 18, Trilogy of Error. First released in April of '01, it was directed by Mike B. Anderson, written by Matt Selman. In this episode, this is the one where we see the same day from the perspectives of Homer, Lisa, and Bart, and the Botlingo, and the mob running after Bart and Milhouse, and all exciting stuff. Hey guys, what'd you think?
Great fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And I immediately remembered it the second that it started. I was like, yep, I know this one. And also remembered that it's kind of a parody of Run Lola Run.
Yeah.
But I can't really remember Run Lola Run, but I remember at the time going, oh yeah, this is Run Lola Run.
Yeah. It's a little bit. It's also, I think, Go is the other movie where it's 3 perspective, whereas Lola Run is like 3 alternatives.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, in the commentaries, Matt Selman did say, he was inspired by, Run Lola Run.
Yeah, there's definitely a music sting.
Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, but definitely the main source of his inspiration was the movie Go. And I really like what they did with the format in this one. Yeah,
this is changing up the format in a way that's a lot of fun and very refreshing. And I remember watching this the first time being like, what just happened? And then it starts again, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like interesting, and I definitely remember at the time going, yeah, this is a cool episode.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed it a lot when I first watched it. I remember it was one that people talked about and went, oh, that was a really cool episode.
Yeah, I mean, even though Teeny exclaims at the end this plot made no sense, I thought
makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, there were plenty of great little setups, reminders, payoffs, and stuff working all around
and
this
just
format.
How they interlock as well is very good.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's the most funniest episode, but there's a lot of satisfaction going on in it. But
it has a lot of momentum, and it's good fun.
No, I was just gonna say, and you want to watch it, as I was saying before, you want to know how the story ends. You want to know what happened to Bart. You want to know what happened to Lisa. You
how
want
did
to keep
Linguo
watching
explode?
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're interested, and the way it happened was really good. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. Well, let's hook into the episode review. Greg, we'll start with you. For better or worse, what's a moment that stands out to you?
I mean, this is for worse, even though it's a really good episode. I think this is still an episode where the cracks are beginning to show. I think, and as I was scrolling through, looking at all the episodes in that season, and going, oh yeah, that one sucks. Oh, that one's all right, And it sort of felt like that. And there was a particular moment, and it was when Barney poured coffee into Homer's mouth that, to me, was like a not good gag.
Yeah.
He said, I know what'll wake him up, some coffee. And then he just gave him some coffee, and then he woke up.
Yeah, I expected he would wake up because his mouth was burning or something like that.
Yeah, or he'd smash the coffee pot over his head or pour it down his pants. Or he just said, I'm going to give him some coffee, and then he gave him some coffee. And I think the gag was supposed to be he's pouring hot coffee directly into his mouth, but it felt a bit too just silly, but not that
Yeah.
silly, and
I
it
had
felt
the same
like a
moment
new
of like,
Simpsons gag.
okay, what's this gag going to be? Oh, he just gave him coffee.
Yeah, and this was in the 4-year period where they'd sobered up Barney as a character. So, but they didn't have his sober look. He didn't have his combed hair and stuff in this moment. So I think they were kind of making an allusion to that. But yeah, I agree. It just sort of felt like nothing and a way to get Homer up, but not an interesting way either. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was an example of the cracks beginning to show. And there were definitely episodes where I'd say not a single gag failed, but this was an episode where, some of them were really funny and some of them weren't so funny. And that was the first moment where I went, this feels new Simpsons.
No, definitely. How about you, BT? What's the moment that stands out to you for better or worse?
I'm going to throw to 3 quick ones, if I may. And, well, I mean, are you going to stop me? No. I'm going to quickly just reference the 2 curses that I really like. First of all, the son of a deadly when the garbage truck pulls Ned's letterbox out. And also, I can't remember why she said it, but Marge's, doodle bugs. That was adorable.
Yes.
But mainly I want to throw to when Lisa gets dropped off at the wrong school and runs into the French class. And it contains my sister's favorite joke of when it's all the kids laugh at her and the she goes, en français.
Yeah.
Very good joke. I really like that one.
Oh, it's a great misdirect and I mean, not that anyone's had that moment, but we've had that moment at school. Oh, you called the teacher mum, or
you walked in the wrong class. Like, I'm not meant to be here.
Yeah. But yeah, to show up at the wrong school, this is great. And the 2 guest stars for this episode, actually. Yeah,
Ooh.
but the first one, Frankie Muniz playing Thelonious, the kid from West Springfield Elementary. How did we think this little kid did at this time? Little precocious
great.
guy.
I think he did great, especially his line of, yes, the reference is worth the beatings.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was kind of funny, but I actually thought it was a really kind of ham-fisted cameo in the sense that it didn't really add anything to the thing. She could have just simply rocked up at the wrong school and then, oh fuck, I'm at the wrong school. Now I gotta. It didn't really add much into the mix.
It didn't add anything. I do kind of like that it's pretty pointless, especially when they're just spinning and it does shot to Lisa, shot to Thelonious, shot to Linguo, and it's like, oh my god, we've been spinning for hours. It's stupid,
I think the
but I
payoff,
got a chuckle.
Yeah, I think the payoff was kind of worth it. It was kind of it did feel like, oh hey, we've got a celebrity guest in here, but at the same time, there's a funny joke, so
Yeah, and at the time I checked, he would have been about 16 at the time, and right at the beginning of Malcolm in the Middle. Were you a fan of that show at all, Greg? Or
yeah, I was big time, but also when it was on, I was like, this show is the best, and I loved it, but also haven't rewatched it since. So I don't know if I'm that big a fan, but I definitely loved it at the time.
Yeah, I take every opportunity, especially in this podcast, to talk about it because, I am such a massive fan. I think I rewatch the entire series at least every 2 years at this point. And Frankie Muniz is also a very interesting character. Just the career he's had since then, that he's, all but left TV, but also races cars for a living.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank God you said races. I thought you were going to...
No. I don't think so. Not yet. I think he wanted Lizzo to put him in his purse or something.
I'm confused.
But also, from racing the cars, he's had brain damage to the point that he said, he doesn't actually remember a lot of Malcolm in the Middle now.
I thought he was just drunk.
Yeah.
Possibly that too.
Oh, wait, no, that's Daniel Radcliffe. Okay.
Possibly both. Possibly together. Who knows? But the bit that I'm going to say stands out to me, and this is part of the plotting that I love about this episode, is, the high-stakes second act break where you think Bart's about to get hit by a car, and then finally in the reveal of Bart's story that it was just a little thunk. Mom! The whole satisfying unsatisfyingness of it all. And I feel like there's a lot of these moments in the episode where they're kind of dropping the seeds in other stories that pay off in the others.
Yeah.
It's a good example of just a sort of a bit of a meta joke, I guess. I don't know if that's necessarily the right word, but it definitely feels like they're playing around with the format and playing around with your expectations as to what you think the show is or should be. And I think that monkey joke at the end was kind of funny because it's this sort of meta joke, and you see a lot of them around that time period of The Simpsons where it's like, we're kind of just fucking around at this point. And what's wild to me is that happens in season 12, where at the end, they're very self-aware when Marge goes, wasn't that right, Mr. Teeny? Wasn't that right? We had a great time, and they're laughing. They know this is fucking dumb. They know this is a dumb, stupid way to end the show. and they're kind of making fun of that.
Yeah.
But it's wild that they've done that and then still made another 18 seasons of the shit. Like, after they're self-consciously going, yeah, we've kind of jumped the shark here, they still just went and made 18 more seasons.
I mean, I think you'll find it's 20 more seasons.
Well, yeah, 20 more. Jesus.
Fuck.
Yeah.
We're going to be here for so long. But, I mean, I feel like they do that as well in just with Lisa going, now as he reattaches the thumb, the subject begins for a long and painful recovery.
Yes.
I did like that, yeah.
Like,
funny.
didn't this conveniently wrap up? Oh, no, he's going to be in physical anguish for a while. Like, I still felt like they played with the reality and the ridiculousness, but... Yeah, on Mr. Teeny, goddamn, love to see a monkey driving a car.
Especially when Wiggum pulls him out. I was like, you know where 1, 2, 3 Fake Street is? He's like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah. And then just that little line where he goes, hey, we have the same hat.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's just they're blue. Like, oh my goodness. Have we seen this episode before, BT?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. At least 3 times in different perspectives.
Nice. Greg, have you familiar with this one?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know how many times I've seen it, no idea, but definitely a bunch of times.
Yeah, this was on my famous Elliot's Stoner Simpsons mixtape with the weed episode and the Tall Tales one. And yeah, this was like, I compiled a bunch of trippy episodes onto one VHS tape.
Elliot,
that's cool.
do weeds?
No, never.
You were supposed to say Elliot does do weeds. Come on, man. Trying to alley-oop you here. Or sports reference.
I smoke too much weed, man. I'm just the stoner sloth. You're passing me the salt, and I'm like, salad? Wackiness. Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
I mean, yes, but no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was all part of its own momentum, but I got a couple of bits. I'd like, okay, Marge stealing Rainier Wolfcastle's Ferrari. Technically, that's wacky, but it's not impossible wacky. I do love the button on that where they go to the hospital and it's just parked in the doors.
Yeah.
Just kind of close on it.
Yeah.
And Homer gets from where Lingo's head lands to where he blew up like that. So that's the only part of, like, impossible wacky I wrote down.
Lisa spinning for hours. Yep. Homer instantaneously traveling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Greg? Were there some cartoony, wacky moments that stood out to you from this one?
I think most of it was really wacky, but like wacky in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I always find it really hard. There's, you know, especially when you do absurd comedy, it's really hard to sort of define why one thing is funny and then another thing is just like, oh, look, I'm so random, and it's not funny.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times where it is funny, and like everything is wacky. There was that moment. I really like the moment when Lisa corrected Lingo's grammar, and then he goes, "Lingo, sleep now." And then he's just like,
Let's conserve battery power.
Yeah, and
I love that as well. It implies that Lisa programmed into the bot to have darting eyes as a function.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is this really
just a little
advanced?
bit of sass.
Like, this robot is the most advanced AI that's ever existed. Like, he can understand context and make decisions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the whole episode, like, just about every part of it was wacky, but in a good way. And I think it works really well.
No, definitely. Yeah, besides starting to question, wait, in 2001, Lisa, was the most advanced robot.
Roboticist, yeah.
But also, just on Lingo as well, at the end, were they doing a Joel Dolce reference? Were they, like...
I don't know what that is.
The what?
They were, like, said, like, 3 lines from the song Shut Up or Your Face.
Oh, yeah, maybe. But they're also pretty heavily Italian stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like, they's throwing robots. They are throwing robots.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they say, what's the matter, you? And, like, shut up or your face. And,
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't prove it. I kind of also don't believe that song is real, even though I have heard it.
All right.
You know, it's one of those things that's like... This is fiction. This doesn't make sense. This can't have been a such a massive cultural impact to have, you know, lived on to us in another generation where it wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
I just heard my dad quote it.
No, it's, like when you hear the dads, like, put on fucking, God, what's that shit? Australiana or something. And it was like,
ostentatious.
Yeah, it's like, this was peak comedy back then, huh?
Yeah.
I had a fight with Ostentatious on Twitter once, and I think he blocked me.
So you won.
Yeah, so I won.
Take that, snowflake. Fucking ostentatious. So yeah, wackiness of this episode. Yeah, stealing Rainier's car. I love how Marge explains that to Lisa and she doesn't bat an eye either. Stole this car off McBain after I cut off your husband's thumb. Can you drive me to school?
Yeah. Perfect example of wackiness, but it serves a purpose and it's funny and it's a good payoff.
Yeah, to do that any other way would be, Mom, why did you do that? It's like, no, we don't care. Keep moving.
Yeah.
Well, and the 1, 2, 3 fake street thing again, like you'd almost forgotten about it, but then they bring it all the way back into Bart's story at the end. It's fucking so satisfying.
Yeah.
But how about the heart of this episode? Did we feel the bumps?
I mean, Homer's loss of his thumb, you know, tells him to say goodbye to his brother as he prepares to throw it away forever and can't hitchhike anymore.
Sad, really.
But I mean, we're not really going for hard here, so.
Nah.
Yeah, I feel like it's not, like, this is the one time when, you know, for most of classic Simpsons, you know, having heart is what you want, but this is the one time when you don't really need it, you know, because, they're going for the movie Go or, you know, Run Lola Run. It's all about slick twists and plot lines and style.
It's got so much momentum that you don't really care because that's what's driving it, is just the story itself.
Yeah,
exactly. It's all about the slickness and the momentum, and for that, it achieves it. So, it doesn't have heart, but it doesn't need to.
Yeah, and I guess maybe that's why they quickly shoved in a little bit of a Lisa Hart story in it all, just to maybe fill that quota. But again, I think, you put it right, BT, that it's ultimately pointless, but it's kind of fun.
And everyone's motivated at least. Like, you know, Marge has cut off Homer's thumb. That's a thing. Lisa is trying to get to the science fair. She wants to win. I do that like that part where Martin's just like, kiss first place goodbye.
That was really good. That one.
It tells you the stakes in a line.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized Bart's just whacking school today, isn't he?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Actually, the thing I like about this, even though like we don't get to see Marge's day, she's just got a massive part in all three of these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the glue. She's the glue that holds that family together.
And my other heart moment from this episode was Milhouse's line, "Where did you find this place?" "This is where I come to cry." I
do like how that's become a bit of a meme as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely something that I didn't laugh at now because it's like it's a meme at this point, but I remember laughing at it at the time, and I remember, strangely, my dad couldn't stop laughing at that. I remember watching it and my dad thought it was the funniest joke he'd ever heard. I don't know why I remembered that, but as soon as I heard the line,
Well, especially Bart's reaction to just brush it off and go, cool.
Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't care.
I will say the one joke I had completely forgotten about that I really did like was when all the fireworks, they launch a firework out of like a statue cannon and it lands in like an army base and they're all running drills. Go, oh my God, I'm not ready.
Yeah, that was good.
Like them freaking out would have been funny enough, but to have the line, we're not ready yet.
Yeah.
That kind of tied it for me.
But ultimately, does this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are the characters behaving like themselves?
A different version of themselves, and again, it's that style parody. But yeah, I think they're absolutely. It's just a slightly different universe to it.
Yeah,
I think it's as I say, it's that late but good, still good period where they are starting to feel like they're different. And it's if I was in charge of the show back then, I would have gone, yep, this is the last season. They feel like they're different, and I feel like in that episode, it is a style parody, but also I think they need to kind of do that because they're running out of things for them to do naturally. So it kind of felt different, but it still works.
It's like a moment of, well, what else can we do with these guys?
Yeah.
Rather than, what else can we do? God, that kind of thing. It's exploring because they've run on so long. Like, well, we got to start branching out. What can we do? What's interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, but just from like the conceit of each of the three stories, it feels exactly like all of them. Yeah, of course Homer got his thumb accidentally cut off reaching for a brownie.
Yeah, Lisa cares about winning the science fair and Bart's up to mischief with fireworks. It all fits everybody.
Yeah. No, that's it. And the way that they tie the second tier characters across all the other stories as well. Like, I love Wiggum in this episode.
House of knifey wifey.
Yeah.
And the bit where Luke goes, "Can I hold my gun sideways?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure. It's your whatever you want, birthday boy." It's fun.
Yeah, they're not actually jokes, but they're just funny details to stack.
Yeah.
And then just like, oh, that sounds like Fat Tony. Fat Tony, is that you?
Yeah.
Actually, there were a lot of jokes around the fireworks I'd kind of forgotten, like calling it a cracker house.
Yeah.
I got a good joke out of that. And the bit where the mob guy's like, thank God, smuggling fireworks is so much better than running those unions. So much paperwork.
Yeah.
Despite the fact there's like such tiny amount of money they'd be making.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And yeah, of course, playing Fat Tony, Joe Mantegna returning again, who's just wonderful as always. So yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Yes, I would. This would be in my whatever, once every 3-4 years when I watch The Simpsons again. I would watch it again, yeah. I would put it in the rotation.
BT?
Yeah, absolutely. Good fun.
Of course, I'd watch it again. And episodes that we want to watch again, we like to think about what playlist we'd put them in. So what are some other Simpsons episodes that would pair nicely with this one? I'm
going to say other movie parodies, so something like Cape Fear.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of any others at the moment.
Of course, because that's how brains work.
Yep.
I would put it in the category of sort of novelty episodes that aren't necessarily Treehouse of Horror ones. So like the 22 short stories about Springfield.
Yeah.
The Behind the Music.
Yeah.
The Springfield spin-off Showcase.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe that one. That's a bit meta, but yeah, I'd put it in with other novelty episodes.
Yes, like Springfield Up and the 24 parody as well. That would be a good fit.
But what about changing this episode up? Say there's stuff we want to fix. What do we want to change? BT, we'll start with you this time.
I think change that coffee bit. It weirdly lags. And maybe try and punch up that bit with Thelonious. I like it just fine. It does feel a little bit, okay, why did that just happen? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think those are the only parts that really dragged for me. The rest is all a lot of just go.
Yeah. How about you, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I think they've obviously spent a long time thinking about structure, and there's nothing in there that it isn't really out of place. Even when Lisa goes in and sees Chief Wiggum there with the radio, that feels like a random moment at first, but it pays off because it's not a random moment. It's part of the story. So I wouldn't really change anything structurally. I would just, literally punch it up. There's plenty of gags. I'm like, there weren't big belly laughs anywhere. So I would just give all the gags another pass.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of, when Dr. Nick is talking to Captain McCallis, like, what are we doing, a lengthening or a widening? It's like, I do not need to think about that.
Better make it both. But yeah, even bits like that where I'm like, why is this here? It's kind of like, okay, yeah, it's silly enough to work. Same with the gun sideways. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, New Simpsons can make me feel very clever, like I can rewrite some of this shit. But yeah, this one's making me, feel like a big old dummy. All right, yeah, we're pretty much here. Greg, do you have any other notes about this episode?
My main thing was I just thought it was so... I mean, I already said it, but I just thought it was so funny that they're so aware that they're running out of ideas and they kept going for so long after that. This really should be the last season, It's just like, now they're just messing around, having fun with the format, and this was a hit, and that should have been it.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of the episodes where they do mess with the format that generally work or that we like better, like when they did the 7-Up parody, or they did the 24 parody, where they're going for stylistic parody, but also at the same time when they do like sketches that reference other things that feel like you have to know the thing and it doesn't work. This one you can be totally unaware of and this is still a fun episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't need to know the source material at all.
BT, do you have any other notes?
Absolutely, I do. Let's see. I'll do like the bit at the beginning of like, don't worry, Dad, I'll get us out of this. Do you want to come see my science project? No, Lisa. Wink. But I sure don't want to eat this crappy breakfast.
And it's the kind of thing, because they repeat it so many times in the episode, it just, poor Marge.
Yep.
Trying to keep her family healthy. But that was actually a really good animation moment for me, where she pulls out the muesli and it's just...
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're eating in the Tracy Ullman short we watched.
Oh, yeah.
Muesli.
Have you ever watched the Tracy Ullman sketches, Greg?
No, never. Oh, you mean the Simpsons ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Not many. Maybe only the ones on that episode where they showed them.
Yeah.
Some of them are surreal nightmares. It's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's this one called Dinner Time where they're kind of eating brains, but anyway, it's...
Well, they're just eating unidentifiable squidge. Squidge
sounds
is
great.
The right
it's good fun.
I do like the Homer's line of like, ooh, can I have a brownie? They're for after dinner. Ooh, can I have dinner?
Yeah.
Reattach my thumb. This isn't Gattaca, which is a weird reference, but Gattaca is a good movie about genetic engineering in the future, and it's good. I would recommend it. I haven't seen it for a while, but
it's a great movie.
Oh.
Yeah. One of the few Uma Thurman movies that didn't have Quentin Tarantino involved that's actually good. So, yeah.
So you don't see her feet in it?
I honestly don't remember. You probably do. I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention. But when Marge calls up and says, I cut off my husband's thumb, it's like, oh, you'll burn for this. You'll burn in jail.
Yeah.
That was good. Again, Wiggum in this episode, yeah, you're right. Absolutely kills. The great line of Linguo dead. Linguo is dead.
Yeah, right here was another good animation moment for me that's just such the slightest detail when Homer pulls down Linguo's eyelids like a robot toy. The bottom ones immediately like catch up to it. Yeah. Like he only pulls them. It's such a small detail, but I love it.
Mm-hmm. And my final note is when Lisa's speaking to, again, Chief Wiggum, damn. And Sol does that whole, Fat Tony's at you, and there's what he thinks is gunshots. Like, oh, well, now I need another informant. Hey, Lisa, people trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the line he says after that, which is like, you want to be a snitch? The pay's not great. We've just heard someone die, what we think. And then he's like, also, it pays badly.
Yeah. But again, like a great detail that, you're led to believe that was gunfire, and then you see the fireworks. It's just, so well integrated. I loved the scene of Homer chasing Santa's little helper through the yard and then through Flanders Place.
Especially stomping on the train right before it hits the thumb and just Rod or Todd or whichever one, it's just,
perfect cry delivery on that actor's part.
Just, especially because Homer's just so happy he just stomped this train into oblivion.
Yeah.
It's good.
Oh, yeah, and then Flanders line as well. And then Harry Potter and all his friends went straight to hell for practicing witchcraft.
Just hocks the book into the fire.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I think I'm out of... Oh, yeah. He's on the Blue Man Group again. We got plenty of time.
Yeah, I like that. It's those little details that make it good when it's clearly something he's gone on about for a while.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of the X-Files episode, another blue rant. Blue M&M, red M&M, it all winds up the same color in the end. Homer's Drunken Rants playlist. A really weird dig, but it's like, Hootie and the Blowfish? Yeah, it's cheaper than blank tape. I feel like I'd cut that one, but I personally kind of like it.
Well, that was kind of the... I only, in retrospective, watching Todd in the Shadows do his series on Train Records on Hootie and the Blowfish's follow-up
so good.
album, did he really illustrate to me how successful that first album was and how many used copies would be out there. So, yeah, they sold a fuck ton of that first album.
Yeah, because Cracked Rearview... Window, Mirror, whatever, is still like in the top 10 or 20 most sold albums of all time.
Yeah.
Like crazy amount of success for old Hootie and his Blowfish. Or Darius Rucker, I know, there's no Hootie and whatever. Anyway, it's time to rank this thing. BT, what would you like to rank it?
I came into this room on a gold because I just had a lot of fun, but in the talk, I've kind of realized there's not a lot of good, hard gut laughs. I think I just really enjoyed how refreshing the change in format was, and they do it really well. I do find this to be a very clever script, how they interlace each individual story. However, I'm going to sit on a silver. It's a very entertaining episode. It's just, there's not a mind-blowing aspect to it. I mean, I could have gone gold. It would be a fair enough rank, but I feel pretty solid with the silver.
Not mind-blowing, but robot exploding. Anyway, Greg, what would you like to rank it?
Yeah, I would agree with silver then. I think it's really good. It's fun to watch. The writing of the way the threads are weaved together, and I think the payoff to have the gangsters using, sort of gangster speech and blowing up lingo is so good because it's not just this random moment where they've run into gangsters at the end. They've already set up the gangsters to begin with. So writing-wise, it's really well done. It's really cool the way the format changes. But yeah, totally agree that it's just like not that funny. It's like entertaining to watch and like lots of funny gags, but it's not big belly laughs or like really funny. And end of the day, for me, a gold episode is one that makes you really laugh. So yeah, silver.
Yeah, that sort of solidified my position because, like, I'm like cubic zirconia idea, but like, silver execution. So I'm gonna like land in the middle of that and say a gold, and it, like just for my personal preference, it's only just skirting up there because a few more jokes and I'd be a lot more solid in that opinion. But I'm gonna say gold because it's such a fantastic effort and frankly one that like I don't think they've like met again, even
in like high concept. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that'll average out into be a shiny silver. It'll be the 4th episode from season 12. We'll give that ranking. It'll be joining Children of a Lesser Clod, where Homer does his ACL and opens a babysitting service at his home. Pokey Mum, where Michael Keaton plays a artistic prisoner that Marge takes under her wing. And The Great Money Caper, where Bart and Homer get into grifting.
Grifting.
Yeah, it's all these sort of fun season 12 episodes with ridiculous plots. Like even that last one, that's the one that ends with the classic, I know this plot was completely absurd, but if you listen for us for one moment, hey everybody, surf's up.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly that. I remember that's the joke I was thinking of when I went, this should be the last season.
Yeah.
I remember watching that and going, there's nothing you can do. Once you finish an episode with "Hey everybody, surf's up," that's your last season. There's where can you go from there?
Yeah, because you're basically saying, okay, we had a fun episode. Now shut up and let's reset.
Yeah,
it's not jumping the shark, but I mean, you are going surfing. You're getting close. Simpsons.
Yeah, that is.
To me, it's jumping the shark, but being aware that you're jumping the shark.
Yeah.
It's like we're having a laugh here. Like honestly, who gives a fuck at this point?
Yeah.
And that should be your last season.
It wasn't the jumping the shark because on Soviet space station, Sturgeon lands on car.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a stretch, and I'm sorry, but I made it.
Well done. First prize. All right. Well, yeah, that about does it for the teens era. Now we're going all the way back to the classic episode, and I haven't told you this yet, BT. So, Greg, what episode did you pick from the shortlist?
I picked from the shortlist Homer the Vigilante.
Ooh, yes.
The episode which the Simpsons Index famous top ranking comes from. So, will it get that ranking? We'll find out after this. Insert music sting, Elliot.
Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it.
And we are back, and we just watched our classic episode of the evening, and fuck, what a classic. This was Season 5, Episode 11, Homer the Vigilante. First released in January of 1994, it was directed by Jim Reardon, written by John Swartzwelder. In this episode, this is the one where Homer's a vigilante. It's what it says on the tin.
Springfield Cat Burglar.
That's the one. What do we think?
Oh, it was absolute chef's kiss. Mwah.
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
I know. Cubic zirconia. Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Settle down.
Had a great time watching it. And honestly, because I've seen The Simpsons a lot, especially around that era.
Yeah.
I mean, I could quote just about every episode. You know, I can watch along and I know exactly what's coming. And it's still funny. I still literally laughed out loud at several points in the episode.
Yeah, I mean, what you were talking about with not a single belly laugh in the last one, and, you meant to, get bigger laughs on a first or close to first reaction, and this one might be in the 50s for me, and I'm still, getting gutbusters all throughout this one.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Line deliveries, character moments, story. Jesus, this one's got it all. Anyway, let's talk into the review and the famous Simpsons Index questionnaire. BT, we'll start with you. For better or worse, what's one moment that stands out to you?
One that's... Okay, I'm going to steal two because fuck y'all. First, it's just one that I just love every time, and it just feels particularly relevant in these very heavy conspiracy theory days of like, oh, well, Lou, that's another one. Put it up on the board. Well, no obvious pattern, but if I take this one here and this one here and that one, hello, it almost looks like an arrow. Chief, that's pointing right here. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
So good. That's a perfect example of those really good jokes that are every line is funny and it builds and it builds and it builds and it pays off. Even it's funny that he's creating the arrow. He's just making it up and then he makes the arrow and they go, wow, it's pointing here. And as cops, their reaction is to go, let's get out of here and just run, just literally flee from the room.
Well, my other
so funny.
My other example is going to be another one where they just keep adding on to it like, oh, come on, Lisa, I got you that new instrument. What, this jug? Which that alone is funny, but then she stops like, Lisa, never, ever stop in the middle of the hoedown. Then there's a nice little heart moment of, oh, sweetie, I'll get your saxophone back. Lisa, music helps Daddy think. And then it's him standing with like one hand on his chin, both feet tapping to the music. Oh my God.
That was another one for me. I wrote down the exact same thing, almost word for word. It was just the rhythm of it was so good. It's just a great joke that then has that heart moment. Then where he's stomping and just really looking serious as he's genuinely thinking. He's like, he needs the music to help him think.
Yeah, I think if I could get a tattoo of a GIF, that would be it.
But it's, you know what they say about the mullet, party on top, party out back, business up top. It's the same here. He's all clearly thinking in business, but his legs are still partying.
Yeah. It's so good.
And playing on the Simpsons history as well, that it's not something that you need to know, but that Homer's just been constantly irritated by Lisa playing bebop jazz on a saxophone all these years, but if only she'd been playing, the first and the fifth note on a jug and doing a hoedown for him. He really gets into that.
Yeah.
How about you, Greg? What's a moment that stands out to you for better or worse?
For me, I mean, and I'm the same. At first I started to write down all the jokes that stood out, and I realized I couldn't type that fast. Like I was just typing,
rewriting the script.
Yeah,
pretty much. It was, but for me, it was the line. This is honestly one of my favorite jokes, and maybe it's just me, but it's one of my favorite jokes in The Simpsons of all, is just when we just cut into Homer at the dinner table and he goes, "Look, buddy, your car was upside down when we got there. As for your grandma, she shouldn't have mouthed off like that." Like, it's just, I love being in the middle of the story, not knowing exactly what's happened, but you basically know what's happened. Like, what did he do to the grandma? Like, we don't know, but it's so funny. Not only is it funny, but it really speaks to his character, because Homer doesn't understand the difference between just having power and, protecting people. For him, being a police officer is literally just being in charge and bossing people around, and he genuinely doesn't understand the difference. And that's what makes it so funny as a joke, but also so Homer. Like, it is his character, and it says so much about who he is. It's just a great gag.
Oh, and that, his opportunity to defend himself on a live platform, and it's just, you can clearly see, how much of an egotist he is.
Oh, Kent, I'd be lying if I said my men weren't committing crimes.
Touché.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's a brilliant gag.
Oh, that whole smart line section, it's, just what you said, just stacking and stacking of jokes, and that when he gets mad at the phone call, it just starts choking, and the pullback and reveal. Homer, that's our stage manager. Oh, sorry, I'm nervous.
Yeah,
he says I'm nervous.
Everything about it. It honestly feels like the way that the jokes are written in this sort of classic Simpsons era. It almost feels like a hand animation, in the sense that it feels like every single word has been spent hours on every word.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Crafted.
Yeah, every single thing, and it's just packed with jokes that are all great.
Yeah, well, apparently behind the scenes of The Simpsons, they had what they called the nuclear process, in that because they expected, to get a syndication deal out of this show and have this show be rerun ad nauseum, which it definitely was, and to great success for Channel 10. So they run it through those tests. These jokes needed to be funny 30 times. And it's funny that the same show that has, the same episode order doesn't clearly have this same process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so wild and bizarre. Oh, God, what's going to stand out to me? God, I don't even know what to pick. Do you have another one, BT?
I mean, I can help you out, buddy. How about all the things the cat burglar initially steals? So Lisa's holding her sax and gently blowing into it, and it becomes the party whistle. Takes the TV and switches it with coping with loss.
Yes.
I don't know, the necklace kind of pops out of Marge's neck.
The grooves that are in her neck. It's really.
And there's the follow-up joke if she has an entire drawer full of them.
You probably have a drawer full of them.
Yes,
I do. But all of them are. I really love the production of this opening scene, actually, now that you mention it. And, they do the Simpsons theme in that, nice, lilty style, but then it's, got a bit of a, spy espionage feel when,
a little bit of Pink
working.
Panther under there.
Yeah.
And also just the economy of words, or lack of words, really, how quickly and clearly the story of the episode is set up.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, we see a cat burglar coming in. Immediately after, we know Lisa's saxophone is gone. We've now got motivation. This needs to be solved. Flanders comes in. You guys were robbed too. This is a crime wave. Everything is so clearly put forth in the first few moments of the show. So we know the stakes. We know what the motivation is. We know what everyone wants. And then we can get into it. And it's just so well done, that opening scene.
Yeah, we go from 0 to them having formed the Vigilante group in the first ad break.
Yeah.
Like, that's beautiful pacing.
Yeah, and it's not one of these things like the first episode where it feels like they used up an entire story within the first act. It's obvious that, this Vigilante group is going somewhere, and then it's kind of even a funny reveal in the second act where they're like, oh, this was supposed to be going somewhere. Why haven't you solved the cat burglar thing? I'm still missing my saxophone, you dumb asshole. And this gets to be a great Springfield ensemble episode as well. Like, I think, especially Simpsons always do really good quoting on the mob mentality, and I love how fickle they are as well, where Ned's like, oh, I don't have much experience. Someone else.
Someone else. Someone else. I'm someone else.
That's exactly a note I wrote down as well, is the way that they capture the moral panic of a large group of people. They do that so well. And for me, that flipping on a dime part that was great was that they formed a vigilante group to stop the murderer, the cat burglar. They formed a vigilante group. The whole town was in hysterics. They had laser beam security systems and running houses. And then when they finally catch him, because he's a little bit nice, they're like, yeah, let's let him go. He's a hero. Like, there's just this mob mentality that just flips them on a dime, and it's so good.
Oh, sorry, everyone, but Malloy here broke the law. When you break the law, you have to go to jail.
Yeah.
So here's your monthly kickback. It's like, you couldn't have picked a worse time.
Yeah, very good.
But leading into the wackiness about this episode, I love that Frink went on TV, demonstrated his running away house thing, which didn't work, and someone still bought it.
Yeah, immediately after 2. It's such a good callback.
Yeah.
He was right. The real people did not burn quite as quickly. But I just love the slow delivery of that when he's just watching it, but it's like, well, the real people won't burn quite as fast.
Oh, Frink, looking on the bright side. Oh, it's just so funny how it just tilts and then pathetically goes up in flames. Like, there is so much good wacky animation in this episode.
Yeah.
Yep. Come on, the entire Dr. Strangelove reference.
Yeah. That was one of those Strangelove references that I never got as a kid, and then years later was like,
Yeah, but again, even if you don't know that reference, you get the idea that he's just insanely enthusiastic.
Yeah. The reveal of hey, didn't you read the sign? Do not ride the bot.
Yeah.
Like, this has happened enough to Herman.
Yep.
There was a moment in there and this was actually, I had never noticed it before, just a tiny little background animation moment. And I actually paused it and went, that's cool. Like, I'd literally never seen it before. In the scene where everyone was pelting Homer's house with fruit.
Yeah.
It paused and you see a really well-dressed man holding a bowl of salad and holding like a bit of lettuce with his tongs.
Oh, really?
Like he was flicking it with his tongs. And I'd never seen that before. And who knows how many times I've seen that episode. Yeah, 50, 100, I don't know. But I'd never noticed that just tiny little bit. And someone thought to put that in, and just a tiny little background thing. It was great.
Oh, that is an amazing detail.
Yeah.
God, I swear I had so many more moments for wackiness. How about you, BT?
I mean, all the big T's in Springfield.
There is an inordinate amount of big T's.
Big T building, the Big T factory, tea burgers.
The Big T Theatre featuring iced tea with Booker T.
That was really good, that one.
I love the mob rushes back in. It's like, we need more information. All right.
You know, this is actually how I learned about Booker T, the musician, because I said to a friend ages ago, why is Ice-T performing with world heavyweight champion Booker T, the wrestler? It's like, you're an idiot.
You mean there's more than one?
Well, there's probably a lot of animation moments to go over, but how about on the other side of the wackiness? How about the heart of this episode?
One more wacky bit.
Sorry.
It's just when Malloy breaks into the Springfield Museum, there's just alarm system, do not turn off.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, continue.
Actually, to be fair to Malloy, this was a very easy to rob town if that was the trend. Like, Homer leaving his keys in the front door and everything.
I love that.
Just as, he's pulling up the little lockpick. Oh, it's such a good reveal.
It's not just the pull up, it's also how his hand kind of goes back into in surprise of,
Yep.
Okay.
This is easy. How about the heart of this episode? Did we feel the bumps?
It's Lisa's saxophone and Homer's promise to get it back, and then him losing his head to power, of course, but it always comes back to Lisa, and it's a good moment.
Yeah, I think it definitely showed real heart, because it shows that Homer, for as bad as he is, he genuinely cares. But he's the constant war of his own selfishness and ego, that he genuinely wants to get Lisa's saxophone back, but then the second that he has an opportunity, he starts running around with a sack full of doorknobs, beating people. But he did have good intentions, and at the end of the day, then he got it. And there is those moments of genuine heart in there, and it's a classic example of that.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, too much has been said about the whole jerk-ass Homer thing and that's impact on the show. But, yeah, this doesn't feel like that to me. This, again, just feels like the over-enthusiastic idiot that just lost his way.
This is classic golden retriever Homer of, oh, Lisa's actually upset and so he cares, but then, hey, look, something shiny, he gets distracted.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's a really perfect, I mean, it sounds kind of trite to say because you say it about anything, but... You know, it's a perfect example of something that's timeless because you could watch this now and still completely understand everything about it. Like, you still have mob mentality and hysteria going on. I mean, this is exactly what militia groups and vigilante groups do. You know, they're just kind of dumb people that, you know, can't be a cop or don't have the patience or whatever, then they just go, yeah, let's join a group. Let's get a big group started and get guns. And and they've really nailed that.
We're responsible adults. Sorry.
And if responsible adults go, boom, yep, sorry. I love me again.
Yeah. Oh, good stuff. But yeah, I think Lisa's saxophone is like the only emotion you're going to get out of this episode. But I think it's a very good anchor as well. And the way she reminds in the story of what's going on, because I guess sort of watching it, I was curious because, I mean, it's impossible now for me to watch this episode with fresh eyes. And I'm wondering how well the whole Malloy payoff would work for a first-time viewer.
I mean, I think it would only work on a first-time viewer because every other Simpsons fan is watching this and go, well, it's him.
Yeah.
Here's a new character we've never seen before.
Yeah.
The point was not a mystery. It was how it gets resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think I'm fairly certain that when I first saw it, you immediately know that it's Malloy. Like, I feel like that's... Yeah, it's not supposed to be a sort of mystery there. But I just realised, too, that the other moment of heart... There's a little moment, but is like the way Grandpa sort of saves the day and then Homer apologises to him and says, like, oh, you know, you actually have done a good job. And then Grandpa has his little moment where he's like, oh, I don't feel useless now, before Mo tells him to shut up.
Yeah.
I've had my moment.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Like, it's just this whole thing of this episode having a point and, you know, well, we've learned something today. Shut up.
But again, they've structured that properly. They had, you know, Grandpa come to the first vigilante meeting and then him been told, no, you're too old, and Homer tickles him.
Yeah.
And then the reprise when...
Stop it! This is a form of abuse.
And then the reprise when, you know, they're at the museum and he's like, just stand around and don't steal anything. Hey, we're on our break.
Yeah.
It's that old setup reminder payoff. And, they pelted you too? No, I just fell down.
Actually, I didn't notice he set up that there with the following joke on one of my frequent trips to the ground.
Yeah.
But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters we all know and love? Is this the show we know and love?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. This is literally The Simpsons distilled to its purest form.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we don't get a lot of Bart and Marge in this episode, but, I mean, they're there to support Homer's story, and Lisa gets a lot to do, I suppose.
Well, Bart's pain is funny, but Lisa's isn't.
Yeah.
Bart's pain is funny.
The moment, and I know this is a reference to another movie, and I actually forget which movie it was, but the moment where the guy is drowning, like as his car's going down into the water.
Yeah.
You said this stream was shallow. I know that's a parody of something, and I don't know what it is.
It's a mad, mad, mad world.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think it's a mad, 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 mad world.
Mad, 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 mad.
Mad to the power of 4.
But even not knowing that, Bart, just in that little moment where he's waving and he's smiling, that's classic Bart. You know, like it's even that little moment of Bart is great.
Yeah, he had something. He didn't even have a line there, and it was totally Bart.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that this episode and this era of Simpsons does so well. And yeah, talking about the integrity that it makes all these references to older movies like Mad, 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 Mad World and Dr. Strangelove and Dragnet and Pink Panther.
Just nodding.
That it doesn't require you to have watched these things. These are just little references that are funny on their own. And to that point, apparently Malloy's character was based on the character A.J. Raffles from the 1939 film Raffles.
Of course.
Classic Raffles.
Oh, yeah.
So Raffles. Can't wait till they reboot that one. If you can. You know, it's like rebooting Gone with the Wind.
If they can do one of those tie-ins with a chip and, do a Raffles ruffle. Maybe. I don't know.
No one eats Ruffles.
Do the Ruffles even exist anymore?
I was just thinking about that. Do they even have Samboy anymore? Fuck, I could go some Atomic Tomatoes right now.
Oh. Go back to the 90s, hippie.
But anyway, playing Malloy was our guest star for this episode, Sam Neill. Good old shill for the lamb. Big lamb.
Oh, yeah. He does shill lamb now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't that movie about sheep now? That's weird.
Movie about sheep?
Yeah, some movie about that farmers all lose their sheep to some kind of disease, and he tries to keep one hiding in his house. It looks charming.
Is that just his Twitter feed? Because I know he posts lots of videos of him and his animals being adorable and old.
And eating lamb.
Yeah.
No, I think that's an actual movie. I can't forget what it's called. I think it's called Rams.
They really lose the budget on Jurassic World 3.
Please, they're up to 6, Elliot.
Fucking hell. Okay, well, yeah, that about does it for the integrity question. Where are we up to? Oh, yeah, yes or no? Would you watch this one again?
Yeah, 100%.
Rams is a 2020 Australian comedy drama film directed by Jeremy Sims, written by Jules Duncan, and starring Sam Neill.
Huh.
Check it out. Rams. It sounds great.
Rams.
All right, well, putting that on my playlist. Rams and Raffles. Anyway, would you watch it, BT?
Oh, did that not answer the question? Yes.
All right, yeah, I'd watch it. And episodes we want to watch again, we like to think about what playlist we'd put them in. So what are some other episodes that would pair nicely with this one?
To me, honestly, I feel like this is... the playlist is Simpsons Season 5.
Yeah.
It's just literally... just the playlist of best ever episodes, it's just, I don't know what else it sort of pairs with as much as I'd just go, if I just had my list of the absolute best episodes of The Simpsons, this one would be on it.
Yeah. I had some really out there playlists, sausage gags. So I want to pair this one with the Treehouse of Horror where Homer's like, I've got it. These wieners will give me the speed that I need to outrun these dogs.
Yep. Dr. Strangelove references. So they have the war room from Dr. Strangelove in that one where Sergeant Bob has the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's plenty others because they reference Kubrick a lot.
But yeah, just to finish off that other thought, just the reveal of using the same thing to fool the dog that he does the sleepwalking oath is just... Like you said before, Italian handshake, kissy fingers.
That was my playlist for the running house. Things catching fire that should not catch fire.
Oh, they do so many of those.
Oh, yeah.
When Hans Moleman goes off the road on his car, stops short of the tree, and still explodes.
Yeah, or when he's towing the house of Edgar Allan Poe and it catches fire, or Mr. Burns' breakfast.
Yep.
In Home of the Smithers.
Digging playlist when they're digging Bart out of the world.
Yep. Chop, chop, dig, dig.
Or chop, chop, dig, dig, of course. Yeah, that was on my playlists. BT, what would you like to change about this episode? How can you make this episode better?
Oh boy. Let me have a little gander at my notes here and see if I can figure out. Let's get a cup of tea from the Big Tea Factory and go to the Big Tea Theatre and watch Mr. T and Booker T, whatever thing they were in. No, I have no improvements to this episode at all.
How about you, Greg?
Yeah, I'm the same. For me, a 10 out of 10 episode is one where I just cannot think of a way that it could be better. And I legitimately can't. I just don't know what you could do to make it a better episode.
Yeah. I want to say, the only thing I'd change is I wanted to say that the handkerchief gag is laid on a little thick, but fuck, it's good for the line of, ow, my jugular. Yeah. Any other questions?
See, I actually wrote a note with it, and I mean, but maybe this is just a personal taste thing, but I actually wrote a note on that one, which was that I loved it because there's something about doing a joke where you know exactly what's coming.
Yeah.
And it happens anyway.
Yeah.
And he slowly goes, I just better get this handkerchief out here and dab that sweat. And then he gives it to the dog, and then he goes, now kill. And exactly what you thought was going to happen happens.
Yeah.
And you knew it was going to happen the entire time, and it's still funny. And then through him screaming with the dog, he manages to say, any questions?
After having his jugular attacked.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, any other note about this episode?
The scene with Flanders, when they're forming the Vigilante group, this was, again, back to when the characters really felt like heightened versions of real people. Because Flanders, originally he had a bar in his house and he had beer, and there's a sign on it that some joke about how I can't go seven.
7 days without a beer makes me weak.
Yes.
But weak is in 7 days.
Yeah. And it shows that Flanders is a real person. He's a Christian. He's, you know, he cares about his family. He's a nerd, but he's still an actual person that, you know, I have a pool room. I like to have a beer. And he became this sort of caricature version of that where he'd never touched a drop of alcohol in his life. And, you know, he had a really high-pitched singing voice, and he was too weird and Christian and stuff. And this went back when he was real, and that was such a good, just a good moment to remember where the character actually started.
Well, also in his humility when they all elect him leader of the Vigilante group, and he's like all being humble and like, oh, I don't really have any experience. He's still leading to the acceptance of it. Yeah. But in that middle of that mob mentality to show how little it matters, there's like, someone else.
Yeah. And that also just clearly shows how the person that wants power is usually the last person you want to actually give it to. Yeah. You know, it's like Flanders would be the best leader of a vigilante group. He'd be kind and respectful and actually think about things. Yeah. But the person who wants to be in charge, it just wants to beat people with a sack of knobs.
It's just going to be loud and belligerent,
Yeah.
You don't need a thinker, you need a doer. Someone who will act without thinking of the consequences.
That's it. What he's saying is horrible, but he's speaking with such confidence and bravado that it's like following you now.
And it also makes sense in the character too, because Homer legitimately would think that. He would genuinely say, thinking is stupid. Why would you think when you can do? You know,
we came here for action. Yeah.
BT, do you have any other notes?
Man, I got a lot. You all ready? They stole Ned's Shroud of Turin beach towels. That's a good bit.
Yeah, I don't understand the reference.
The Shroud of Turin was this kind of controversial relic where it was meant to be the shroud that had covered Jesus after he died. And they eventually did carbon date it, disprove it wasn't old enough, but some people still believed in it anyway. So here's beach towels that are based off of this effect, basically a holy relic.
Oh, right.
So it's a good bit. Homer, tell your daughter what happened when I sent you into town to get home insurance. Curse you, magic beans. Stop blaming the beans.
But he's still got them up there on the bench.
Well, yeah.
Still hope.
Yeah. You can't get rid of them. That'll just be throwing bad money after bad. I don't know, whatever good. Professor, without knowing specifically what the problem is, would you say it's time for everyone to panic? And then, of course, the reprise of that, would you say it's time for everyone to crack each other's skulls open and feast on the goo within?
Yeah.
Yes, I would, Kent.
Like you were saying before, Greg, about timeless concepts in the, the random interview with the expert with the hype of paranoia and panic is just,
Well, yeah, but it's always the undermining of, they're always like, do you think it's time to panic? Oh, no, I think the public should stay calm at this time. No, and this guy's just like, yep, panic.
Exactly. And also the way that it's played so straight, it's not overplayed and like, whoa, yes, I do, we're all going to die. He just calmly says, yes, I do think it's time to crack each other's heads open.
And goo inside. Yep. Oh, lovely.
Grandpa's line of, I'm full of piss and vinegar. At first it was just vinegar.
Yeah, first time I think The Simpsons said piss.
Ooh, piss. Now they say it all the time. Now you can only see piss on cable. I do explain that crimes like petty vandalism are down 80%, but heavy sack beatings are up a shocking 900%.
Bureau of Statistics monitoring that one.
Yeah. I do really like, and I'm not even sure how to take this one, of when it's like, oh, Dad, I'd kiss you. Well, kiss me right here. It's the only part that has any feeling left. And he does, and he just goes,
Yeah.
But the thing is, the animation, it doesn't quite land where he was pointing. So A, I don't know if that was Homer intentionally avoiding the spot, or B, if he did kiss the spot, but it didn't have feeling, or C, if he did kiss the right spot, but he was like, oh, that didn't do anything for me.
Man, we can take away so much from this little moment. That, again, went over my head. I never heard that little that Grandpa makes afterwards.
It's definite disappointment, and it is so you're just constantly wondering why. Yeah. Why was it a wet kiss?
Yeah, that would be more of a I guess that spot doesn't have any feeling anymore. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to take that. It's great. When they find the cubic zirconia, it says, what an eyesore.
Yeah.
I'm nearly there. I do like they find the briefcase. Homer reads it and there's I can't make out the signature.
Yeah.
As though who else would have possibly put it there. And the final fantastic line of, no, dig up, stupid.
Classic. Yeah. Classic memeable line. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is all my notes.
Well, I got just a couple of notes myself, but before we do that, Greg, we've asked you a lot of questions today, but now we've got to ask, what is the most important question we ask on the Simpsons Index?
Yes, Greg Larsen of the Grub Podcast. If you could have a sandwich named after you, what would be on that sandwich? If I walk into it like a deli and I order the Greg Larsen, what am I getting?
Okay, well, I can definitely answer that question. I would say the best sandwich is roast pork. Like, I think cold roast pork, thick slices of roast pork.
Yep.
Then sliced cucumber, red onions, Kewpie mayonnaise, white bread. That's my go-to sandwich. At Christmas time, when you got all those sliced meats left over, all the roast beef, you can swap out your pork for a beef or a chicken, whatever takes your pleasure. But cold meat, cucumber, red onion, mayonnaise, white bread, that's the Greg.
Yeah, there's also something very different about leftover Christmas dinner that's just a little bit different than if you made it for any other purpose.
Yeah, it's nicer somehow.
It's still got a little bit of that Christmas joy in there.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, that is such a, lovely yet fresh-sounding, delicious, simple sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we could make that now. I would. Someone? No, okay.
So that's the thing. You got to have the roast pork dinner first, right?
No.
Yeah, that's
well,
it.
Christmas is coming.
It can't be any bullshit deli meat, though. Like, it has to be an actual roast that you've made yourself. It has to be proper roast meat, not that pressed deli stuff that's all rubbery.
Yeah.
I love the specificity of the cut of meat. Yeah, wonderful. All right. Well, time for my final notes, and not many left. We do have a little bit of a Jordan's Anal Corner on this.
Jordan's Anal Corner? We've not been here for a really long time.
No, we haven't. One of our frequent panelists, Greg, his name is Jordan, and he's particularly anally retentive. So whenever we're, nitpicking the show, we reference him because he's our friend and we love him.
That's great.
They quoted the Simpsons address as being 723 Evergreen Terrace when it's 742.
Whoa. He needs to get down to Jordan's Anal Corner.
And that's been Jordan's Anal Corner for this week.
Gotta dust off the anal corner. We haven't been there for a while.
Cobwebs.
Yeah.
I'm loving this anal corner. Welcome to the Anal Corner.
Yep. Jordan's specifically.
Yeah.
This isn't just anyone's anal corner.
Yeah. It's Jordan's Anal Corner. Come on. It's just over there.
I feel like we should have had you on back because we went through a progression of like announcing it, and then at some point we just started shouting the name.
Yeah.
And we've come back full circle to now where we now say it politely. So if you've been back in the old days, it was Jordan's Anal Corner.
Funny.
Anyway, I love how they come back from the second ad break. Okay, we've got down the secret handshake.
Yeah.
Homer's priorities.
How long have they been working on it? That's what I like. It's so good.
Homer borrows the Rap Master 2000, and this is enough to fool some kids into thinking it's Hammer.
It's Hammer.
Simpler times, man. Hammer was big.
Yeah.
It's a really
almost as big as Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah. Homer's the string of jokes with the smart line thing is just so wonderful. It's like, okay, we've got our first caller. And I mean, ever. This isn't a call-in show. Hello, Homer. I am your arch nemesis. Yeller.
You do know who this is, right?
Marge? No, Homer, I'm not your wife. Yeah, Sam Neill really delivered in this episode. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's all my notes. All right, it's time to rank this thing. Greg, you're going first on this one. What would you like to rank it?
Cubic zirconia all the way. 100%. I mean,
big old Q.
It's got the cubic zirconia in it. It can't be anything other than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something that I've been thinking about this episode ever since we started this. Is the cubic zirconia episode going to get it? And for me, I think this one doesn't have the strongest story that we've sort of seen in a lot of the episodes we've given cubic zirconia, but fucking damn, it was so much fun. My note-taking hand is so sore right now. I just had a blast reviewing this one. Cubic for me, BT.
Yeah, I mean, it's not strictly an episode that's about a story, but it is about a mood. It's about that hysteria. It's about people reacting to crimes and the cost both of the family and to one's identity as Homer loses himself to power. Cubic zirconia, thank you, Elliot Jay O'Neill. And for everyone out there who's like, cubic zirconia is spelled with a C, not a Q, well, at least we didn't say it's got the big C. That feels weird. So we're going to stick with the incorrect spelling of Q.
All right, and this will be the 12th unanimous cubic zirconia that we've from season 5 that we've given
Just from season 5.
Just from season 5.
Season 5.
Good
We're
seasons.
it is currently ranking as our best season.
Mm-hmm. It once again got the Simpsons Index Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence.
Oh, I almost forgot our bit.
Oh, it's been a while.
But yeah, joining Homer's Barbershop Quartet, Cape Fear, Rosebud, Treehouse 4, Boy Scouts in the Hood, Last Temptation of Homer, the Casino episode, Dollar Pringfield, Homer Loves Flanders, Burns' Air, Sweet Seymour Singer's Skinner's Badass Song, and The Boy Who Knew Too Much.
I think it's Badass Song.
Yeah, there are 5 S's in there. Yeah. Oh, man, what a good... I think you're right. Yeah, the playlist of Season 5 just needs to be watched.
Yeah, it's wall-to-wall hits. I mean, the seasons like the episodes. There's not a dull moment. It's just good all the way through.
Absolutely. Greg, look, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Simpsons Index.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. It's fun to watch episodes of The Simpsons and talk about it.
Like you say at the end of the bonus chats episodes of The Grub, watch The Simpsons.
Yeah, check out The Simpsons.
But yeah, if people want to hear more of you, where can they do that, man?
I got a podcast called The Grub. If you like sketch comedy, it's that. We got a bunch of free episodes out, and also we're on Patreon. And I've just started doing a sort of more serious political ranty kind of show called Big Aussie Revolution. There's 3 episodes out at the moment, and it's me yelling about politics instead of yelling at my TV. I thought I might as well put a microphone in front of me. So there's that. So those 2 things.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I've been enjoying that as well. I actually found the American election takes a very reassuring podcast to listen to when we're kind of in that weird limbo week.
Yeah, totally. I just did it because I was like, I felt like there was enough analysis, so I'll just ring up friends and make jokes about the American election. So
nice.
No, it was great fun, and yeah, absolutely love that one. Check that out. BT, what about our scripted show we've made recently?
Well, scripted, if you had enough of podcasts where people just yell their opinions, why not listen to something with a script and actors and sound effects, such as Pulp Fury Radio, our new show that's out now. This is we've taken the old world kind of pulp genres like sci-fi, noir, horror, and fantasy, and just made new radio plays out of them. So they were entirely new scripts written by me, directed by Elliot and myself, and produced by Elliot. And really proud of this work. We're hopefully soon coming up to the final episode of this season, and more to come if we can. We love doing it. So great fun. Give it a listen.
And also, we're reviewing Game of Thrones backwards on our podcast, Thrones of Game. BT, who's watched the show, takes me, who'd never watched the show, on a journey watching in episode reverse order. So yeah, that's been a whole lot of fun.
It's a unique perspective, and no one else is producing Game of Thrones content. So
I have a follow-up question. So you haven't seen it, Elliot?
No, I'm watching the show for the first time in reverse order.
You're watching it? Oh man, I mean that's a great idea for a podcast.
The show's getting so much better though.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, that's like, that sucks, but is awesome at the same time. I would hate to do that, but I would love to listen to a podcast where someone else does that.
Well, now you can.
That's right. And yeah, that's it. We're the only Game of Thrones podcast still making content. So fuck you, Ben Vanel and Adam Knox.
only game in town.
Yes.
That's
we
right.
are still unfortunately hard to find because we didn't think of the name when we first created it.
Yeah, Thrones of Game. Google tries to correct you on that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that about does it for the Simpsons Index. Greg, thank you once again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a great time.
BT, thank you as always.
I've had millions of dollars beneath a big T.
And we're going to go look for that now. But before that, I've got to say, what?
Maybe that's what BT stands for. Big T. It's underneath. You'll check under your seats.
BT, Big T. God, how did we never put that one together? And I've been your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
I just found my butt.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at Simpsonsindex on Twitter or Instagram. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode, so we'll catch you next week.
Feeling trapped? Tired of the ordinary? Of course you are. We knew you were. If you're looking for an escape from the everyday, then you're looking for Pulp Fury Radio, a new podcast anthology series featuring all original stories in classic pulp genres like sci-fi, noir, horror, and fantasy. Join us and journey to a small town being invaded by a parasite from beyond the darkest depths of space.
What could have done that? What is tentacles like that?
At first, it was like an infection, but it takes control. Come on, we've got to run! This town needs us more than ever, and I do not intend to let it down.
Or investigate a murder while trapped aboard a speeding train with 7 strangers and 1 killer.
I am Inspector Thomas Page of Interpol. Do any of you recognise the woman cuffed to my arm?
Irma, die Wölfin von Majdanek.
I have 5 minutes to find out just which one of you is a traitor working with this Nazi.
We've gone over everybody's story, and as far as we can tell, everyone is who they say they are.
Oh, I see. So, we wait to see who dies next to narrow down the search.
Stay back.
Perhaps you prefer selling insurance in a world of fantasy and magic.
I know he used fire, but he wasn't a pyromancer, he was a pyromaniac.
This is a very minor quest, not even a level 1 really.
I'm talking real adventure, real danger and excitement.
Seek ye not the lost scroll, child?
We are in no way equipped to face off against a dark wizard. You majored in English and I forged all my report cards.
Or solve a crime of murder, mystery, and music.
Fearless Felix Phoenix is the name.
So, what can I do for you, detective?
You're wrong, Felix. Don't you feel it?
Sorry, kitten, but feelings don't matter when there's no proof. Ready? Let's jam.
Each episode comes fully loaded with suspense, action, mystery, and drama, all to help you escape from your everyday. You can find out more at pulpfuryradio.com, with our first episode coming soon to wherever you get your podcasts.
Come on, your adventure awaits! Or whatever.